Right. Now my microphone's not working. Yes, it is. So, my microphone is still working. Good. Okay, so I had to change something. I don't know why it didn't play sound. I refreshed my computer. You know, turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off, turn off, turn on, and now it plays sound. Nothing played sound. I tried Netflix. I tried YouTube. I tried bloody just playing an old video. Nope. My sound just decided, no, fuck you. I don't want to work. However, works again now. So this video again was sent in me to be into me by Scott Schmidt. No idea what it is. It obviously talks about bedrolls because we jumped forwards to try and make it play sound, but it didn't. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's have a look. Oh, you can spot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so quite a few of the guys have got them. Please play. Please don't mess me around again. I don't need another outtake.
How's it going today, guys? Today we're going to be doing a video on the blanket roll as featured by a lot of 3rd Infantry members, or at least it's associated with the 3rd Infantry Division quite a bit. So,
okay. So again, I know nothing about 3rd Inf. Is it Rock of the Marne? Is that their thing? Yeah. So I may actually learn something. I know it's slim.
The blanket roll is pretty much just a convenient way of taking everything in your haversack and rolling it up, in essence. So I've laid out here a whole array of things just because I know that GI reenactors like to carry pretty much their house with them every time they leave, anywhere. So I'm going to give you guys all possible avenues with this and really pack it out to the gills, because honestly, like I said, a lot of people like to carry way more than they really need.
Yeah.
And that's part of this. It's a process of elimination. You realize, okay, I don't need this, I don't need that, and you remove it. I'll show you the bare minimum of pretty much what I carry, and it's going to look like almost nothing, but realistically, that's all you need. So let's get into it. Okay, guys, so we're going to move on to the actual contents, and we'll go left to right, top to bottom. So starting all the way on the left, you have a ditty bag or just a personal effects bag, anything that you can pretty much use to carry stuff in. It's a bag. So basically, you're just condensing all of your stuff into a smaller unit. So everything in that bag might have been spread out across an entire haversack, but it's now just in a bag. Same thing goes with the K rations. You're not going to be carrying like 4 days worth of K rations. If anything, you're going to end up strapping.
I like him already. There's no need to carry more than a day. It starts getting ridiculous as soon as you start talking about that.
They're throwing those into a different bag or strapping them to you. I've seen a lot of guys carry them just with a rope tied around their back or something like that. The K-Rat boxes over here are what I carry my personal items in. I just threw the ditty bag in as an example because...
Yeah, do you know what? That's a good idea. Yeah, I love that. Why not put all your wash kit items in a couple of K-Ration boxes? Yeah, big fucking bulky bag, couple of small cardboard boxes. I love shit like that.
Everybody has different stuff. So, basically, again, the whole point of this is condensing all of your stuff down to a smaller size. So, next is this 5-button sweater. It could be anything. Guys carried anything from a spare wool shirt to underwear. I have 2 undershirts here. It can really be anything. Anything that you personally feel like you would rather carry than, per se, a raincoat or a sleeping bag, things like that. It really all comes down to personal preference, and that's why they're all different sizes and shapes and whatnot. So, again, like I said, sweater, 2 undershirts. This is another blanket, and we'll get into this. So, basically, underneath this is a blanket, and some guys would either use 1 or 2 blankets, and it really comes down to what you had. Some guys only had 1, some guys only had 2. So, that, and also... that right there. Well, we have a dismounted raincoat and a shelter half. So, some guys, what you'll end up seeing is a shelter half rolled over this whole roll once I'm done with it. And the point of that is pretty much to waterproof everything. It's a way of waterproofing all of the contents that are in there versus just leaving it exposed with wool and whatnot. The dismounted raincoat, I brought that in just because there's some guys you'll see that do throw it on the back of their belt, and then there's guys that you wonder, where is it? It might even be in their blanket roll. So again, I'm just giving everything possible just because, like I said, guys like to keep everything on them at once. And
I like the fact he acknowledges this is not just one way of doing this. It's up for complete interpretation of what you, as being a GI, then would want to carry. What you consider essential, not just everybody, because I hate that fucking term. Everybody did. Everybody saw. Everybody wore. No. Sometimes everybody had something or was issued something. What they fucking did with it sometimes, who knew? God only knows. But it's up for the personal touch. Play.
If that's not a reenactorism, I don't know what is. But I'm going to give you guys every possible option and show you that it is possible to roll it as tight as possible and not have it look like a giant sausage link. So let's get on to rolling it. Before we roll the actual bedroll, I just wanted to throw in this one little piece of information, which is basically with these blanket rolls, you'll see different versions. Like I had said before, there's 1 or 2 blanket possibilities, then there's guys putting shelter halves over them, and this is going to cause them to get a lot thicker when you roll them. The first time you roll it over, you'll realize, like, oh shit, all of this is kind of thick, it's not going to look how I want it. It will, don't worry, it definitely will. And the major thing is, if it really makes you uncomfortable that your blanket roll looks a little thicker than everybody else's, dude, just drop a blanket or just drop the shelter half. It really, this is more of a late war item. It was used in the invasion of France, in the Dragoon operation, and you'll see some guys with them and they have a OD3 shelter half over it versus the OD7 that I'm using. It really comes down to the impression and the unit, because everybody did things differently and everybody had their own way of doing it. So just research before you do anything like that. This video is more of it's a generalization, just how to roll the blanket roll. I know I keep throwing 3rd Infantry Division around, but it is common with them, or it's just mostly associated with them. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to let you guys know. So, like I said, this is pretty much it, not gonna lie. So you really don't need anything after this. I have the rope that I'm gonna use to tie it off, some K rations for the day, my personal items, a sweater, and where's my finger? 2 undershirt.
Yeah, I feel you there, because I do the same thing. I try and point at things and it's all left and right, and you know, there's my 30. See, do you know what I mean? There's my 30 cal. It's, yeah.
So let's get to rolling. All right, guys. So we're gonna start off, like I said, with the most basic of basic blanket rolls. We have 1 blanket rolled, or folded, I should say, from corner to corner, hot dog style versus hamburger style, if you guys are familiar. And then all you're basically going to do from here on out is lay out your personal items and roll it. So let's get started. Again, I'm going with the bare minimum. This is pretty much what I carry. There is really no need to carry anything else after this. Everything else can be either carried in pockets, a belt, something, just not in here. So we'll start off. We have the K-Rats. I like to layer these going vertically just so that they roll better.
Okay, so he's rolling.
Boom. And then we
the
have
narrowest way down as opposed to
personal items.
Okay.
Bag, ditty bag. Then you got other personal items. And last but not least, the sweater and the 2 shirts. Okay. So that's basically all you really need to carry in this. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to take your 2 sides, roll them over your stuff. It doesn't have to completely cover it, it just goes over it. And then you're grabbing this top part here, and basically you're rolling it over. Now again, you can kind of push all this stuff and tighten it up as you go over. I'd recommend getting it as tight as possible on that first roll, and then after that, everything else is gravy. As you can see, literally just keep rolling, and boom, there's your sausage link. So you would attach your 2 ropes. . on either end just to keep it closed. And these are just tent half ropes. Like, honestly, you could keep these on your person and always have them. They're great. You can use them for just about anything, even a blanket roll. So, and boom, you guys are set. Now we're gonna move in.
That's so simple. Yeah, I'm quite impressed with its simplicity, and especially over the haversack where it's difficult to get small things in there, and it's just I never ever felt sort of the haversack was a secure method of carrying things. Whether that was me just being incompetent in using it, it's just a pain in the ass. But that was so easy.
Move into all the other variants and all the other types that you might encounter. Oh, fuck. So I did want to mention
It's not just me who swears in videos.
that there is one thing to take away from when rolling this, and that is the way that this back part here folds over, because this is going to be major. This is going to make or break your bedroll. Either all your shit's going to fly out the first time you duck and cover, or it's all going to stay nice and perfectly aligned. So if I pull on this, yeah, see, you can see into the blanket roll. This is what you're trying to prevent. You want everything as tightly as humanly possible wrapped around that so that it stays right in the center. Just thought I'd throw that in there. So now we'll move on to 2 blankets and a shelter half. Okay, guys, so for this variant, we're going to be using a shelter half. Now, the only thing I just want to let you know is all you're doing is folding that corner seam or that back seam over, and the same thing underneath. You're just taking this extra flap and folding it over the shelter half. So now it's nice and squared. Next, what you're going to do is we're going to throw a blanket over it, which is, it's up to you. It could be 2 blankets, it could be 1 blanket. I'm going to go with 1 blanket right now, and we'll keep building and adding. All right, guys, so for this one, we got the shelter half.
Already that's going to be more secure because you've got more sidage to fold in.
Half underneath, and then we have the blanket. So the blanket is again the same thing, folded over hot dog style corner to corner. Again, the shelter half is just the 2 seams folded over, and now you have like a big rectangle with another smaller rectangle on this or on the inside. So all you're gonna do now is pack it out. So let me just grab all my stuff. And now all you're gonna do, again, you're just placing. And again, part of this is placement. So if you have a weird, bulky, squarish blanket roll, it might be just the way you're rolling it. And that just comes down to trial and error and figuring out what it is and isn't that you are or aren't doing. So again, same gig, nothing special. I guess I'll throw those there. And I know it seems very like casual and very random, but it really is. There really is no direct, specific way to do it. It's really just how you want to roll it. So
yeah,
again,
it's not an official thing. Yeah, it comes down to how you did it.
Over, and you'll start to notice this is pretty much the way it the way it's done. Really, like there's no. I'm sure there's a million other ways to roll a blanket roll, but this is really the way that seems to work best, not just for me, but for other people that I've helped and showed in the past. It just seems to work. So again,
further over to that side, so it was more under the flap.
And after that, dude, it's pretty much again, it's all gravy. And if you'll notice, this is much thicker. This is a much thicker blanket roll. Much heavier. You'll feel it the second you put it on, but that's your blanket roll. So next we're gonna move on to, I'm gonna pack this thing out the gills and I'm gonna show you exactly what it looks like. And then last, we're gonna show you, there are some guys who literally just put 2 blanket rolls and a sleeping bag and the shelter half. That was it. So I'll show you that as well. So all right, guys, so this is the packed out the gills version. So as you can see, I've thrown a sleeping bag in there. This is a late war item. 3rd ID common or 3rd Infantry Division commonly had these towards the end of the war. They were part of the blanket roll.
We produced those, doesn't we know? Like, not that I need them. I'm just curious as to because obviously using original sleeping bag covers, they we're a lot bigger than they were back then. I know one of our guys in the Mist Drop 44 in the early days had an original sleeping bag, but it was, it was like, sort of up to here-ish, and he wasn't the biggest guy. So if you're cropping up to 6 foot and you're using original sleeping bag covers or sleeping bags, then you ain't gonna get covered in them.
Now, I'm gonna take every possible, because I know reenactors love to leave wherever they are with literally everything they own. So we're gonna do just that. So we're gonna grab all the same shit pretty much. So now we have 2 blankets, we have the shelter half underneath, and then the sleeping bag, and now we're gonna add a raincoat. Let's see, all the other same shit. We'll add a sweater. And you guys should notice that there's a pattern to this. I start out with the same, leave everything in the center, and then pull over the sides and roll it over. So, boom, boom.
Yeah, at this point, I can't help but wonder, especially coming from the UK and all we do is rain over here, is that the raincoat would be more useful at the very bottom of the bedroll. So when it's rolled, it's near the outside of everything else. So if water ever soaked into the shelter half, it would then have to also get through the raincoat. Hopefully you can see what I'm trying to badly explain. But I don't know, I've never done this, but that's just sort of my thought process in this. To lay it flat at the very bottom. So between the shelter half and the wool blanket. Yeah, in my head it works anyway. There might be a reason why
you see me making all these little adjustments. It's primarily because that's what's going to make or break the blanket roll. So everything is where I kind of want it. We're going to do the same thing again. We're dragging our 2 sides over. And this is going to be the one that you're going to notice it's a lot thicker than the other one. So
it'll be huge. Yeah, getting that other side.
Again, we're just rolling it over. And already you can see this thing is fucking massive. Like there's no real reason to be carrying this much stuff at once. You'll never need this much stuff at once. And at this point you're carrying around, there we go. You're carrying around an officer's bedroll at this point. And this is what I often see when guys try to pull off the blanket roll, is this thick, massive. There's no reason. There's no reason to be carrying all that shit with you.
Yeah, and do you know what it looks like? It looks like a slightly shorter duffel bag. It's got a hell of a lot of bulk to that, hasn't it? Okay.
Notice how big this is, and this is probably the main reason why you're having so much trouble with your blanket roll. So next, last but not least, I'm going to show you guys the bare minimum, the actual bare minimum. All right, guys, so this is the last but not least. This is the bare minimum. This is what you will see guys landing at St. Tropez with, as well as just in general. This might be the blanket roll that you're looking at, because guys did have pockets. Guys did have bags. They had all kinds of other things to carry this stuff and kind of disperse it around their body
as well,
evenly. So maybe not everything ended up in the blanket roll. That was the point of the last one.
Yeah, just stick all your big shit in the blanket roll. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Was to kind of give the extreme of if you did put everything in it, that's what it would look like. This is more of a minimalist. So we have 2 blankets. We have the shelter half, the 2 blankets, and a sleeping bag. You can omit the sleeping bag if you want. I'm going to leave it in there. I'm just trying to prove a point that there is a lot of stuff you can put in this and still make it look small or tighter. So again, we're going to take the 2 sides, throw them over. And this one might be the thinner or thinnest of the group that you'll see. So I also want to add, actually, now that I'm at this point, these 2 sides are going to be what makes the blanket roll as wide as you see it. Whether it's going to span your whole body or it's going to be a short, stubby blanket roll, that all comes down to where you pull these 2 sides in. So, like I said, drag the 2 sides over, blah, 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 pull this over, and And then we're just gonna roll.
Sprung to mind. There's no poles or pegs going into this. I don't know anything about third inf div, so I don't know if they had some other clever, ingenious way of storing poles and pegs for a pup tent, or if they literally just covered holes with them and used logs or sticks or whatever. But surely poles and pegs would go into that as well and be held quite neatly in place. I don't know. Maybe he might mention. I don't know. Because them fucking poles are a pain in the ass to store anywhere. And they would store really well rolled up in that, I think.
I lied. This is actually pretty thick, not gonna lie. So that's your end result. And that's gonna be the last but not least. So if there are any other questions you have, throw them down in the comments. I'd be more than happy to help. Hope this video helped, and enjoy the rest of your day. Good luck on your blanket roll.
Okay, it's not something that us mucky paratroopers need, but yeah, it's still fairly interesting to see how other units carried, you know, all this extra bulk. Because of course we just get a raincoat and, well, parachutes. Okay, yeah, I didn't get to get irate and angry, so I feel like I've actually learnt something for a change. Okay, cheers, Scott. I will do another one in 2 seconds. I just need to do the jiggery pokery and find the files and delete that link. And okay, anyway, enough rambling. Right, on to the next.